have the Cambridge Z88 in its original packaging, and it's quite a neat little box really. It's a Cambridge Computers model, the only one that Sinclair made under the Cambridge Computer brand, and we're going to have a quick look at it and then see if it has any relevance in today's world. Okay, so here we go. Okay, opening the box, you find a nice Cambridge Z88 manual, which is quite glossy. It's a little bit of a departure from the old Sinclair Spectrum one, and it covers the software that you get with the machine. Okay, it's quite comprehensive as well. It's free point and click, so again there's a lot of things you have to kind of remember and reference to use the machine properly. As I say, the Pipe Dream software on it, it covers documents, spreadsheets, you know, and just the normal applications that you were meant to use with the machine. Pipe Dream actually is a spreadsheet cum word processor. It's basic editing and also a very basic spreadsheet. It also comes with an independent support for your Z88, a user's guide, Z88 user's manual, user's club, and various EPROMs that you can get for the machine. Remember, there was no real way basic storage on this machine. It was all either the batteries run out, you lost it if you didn't change them quick enough, or it used an EPROM, which has storage under the keyboard, which we'll cover in a little bit. Okay, the Z88 itself, it's has a few Sinclair traits. It uses a rubberized keyboard, very similar to the ZX Spectrum one, but it's actually quite nice to type on, to be honest. It's not as dead fleshy or horrible feeling as the original Spectrum keyboard was, and it kind of makes sense on a portable machine. The keys are quite well spaced, they're easy to read, and actually the way you place your hands, it's quite comfortable. There's not a strain between the keys like it is on some checklist style rubber keyboards. Navigating around the machine is a little bit clunky really. You have your index, which takes you back to this page where you can select things like Pipe Dream, Basic. Basic then goes into a Z80 version of BBC Basic, which, you know, is quite good if you want to learn a few things on. Index again takes you back to the main screen. Press and escape will take you back to the previous program. So pressing menu, you can execute, card display, cursor left to right, you got your command screen, and again back to index to select whatever you need to select. Calculator, just a normal calculator, and you know, it's the usual things you find on most things. Okay, index back to your main screen, your home screen, and you can enter your diary and put whatever bits of text you want into there. And again, the diary date on this side is again 1987, but we'll forgive it for that. Okay, so Pipe Dream is what it is. It's your spreadsheet. It's a very basic spreadsheet compared to today's machines, but I suppose at the time it's something that, you know, you would use. I mean, you would still probably use it now, but it's very clunky. It's not intuitive, and you have to go through the big black manual really to get a good idea of what it can and can't do. Okay, So at the end of the day, it does as much as it could have done when it was launched. And you have to remember, laptops weren't around then. Okay, they didn't exist. The only closest thing you had was what you call luggables, or transportable PCs, which are fully fledged PCs in a big brick-like heavy-duty case, starting out with the Osborne, and then a lot of variations, including the Amstrad version. And this, for its day, is probably ahead of its time. Storage is a big issue on one of these machines, simply because it uses EEPROM cartridges, which slot into here. You have EEPROM, you can have extra memory expansions and so on, and they all slot into this little tray under the bottom. I mean, it's very secure. I mean, for nowadays, you cannot transfer anything really from an EEPROM that's on one of these to a modern machine. It's just virtually impossible, or very difficult to do. You can use a serial connection to transfer it between a PC and a Mac, but again, it's not something that your everyday machine today has, which is a standard of the time serial port. So it's quite a self-contained machine. Okay, so the Z88, just before we kind of end this, you can see the keyboard. Okay, Clive Sinclair's nice. It's quite nice feeling. It works. It does its job really well with a decent bit of travel on it, and you get the feeling that the design of it, apart from it being rubber, was copied later in life, especially in the modern era, because behind you I have a modern keyboard which looks remarkably similar to this one. Same size keys, similar spacing. The only difference is this one's rubber and this one's harder plastic. Okay, other than that, the actual keyboard is almost, and I mean almost, identical. I think that's why this keyboard is so nice to type on, because of its spacing and its key sizes. So again, it's one of those things. He was a little bit ahead of his time, but at the time people were expecting hard, tactile, compared to squishy rubber. Okay, but again, as a portable, which you could actually get away with spilling a little bit of liquid on, or getting it slightly wet, and it wouldn't crash, break, explode. Whereas that, it would get in between the keys and cause problems with the keyboard. So again, his design quirks actually have a lot of thought behind them, but the problem is, at the time, people didn't think like that, which is a shame, because I think it should have done a lot better than it did. Okay, so it's just a brief rundown of the Z88. I mean, does it have any use today? Yes, it does actually. It has a use in the fact that it's what secure machines should be, because at the moment all of our machines are fairly open to abuse. They're easy to transfer files across modern machines. You've got internet connections, network connections, you have a way of connecting to the outside world. Now, if you're running a business where everything was quite critical, where you didn't want files and folders escaping into the big wide world through the internet or other means, then something like this would actually prevent that to quite a greater extent, to be honest, because it is self-contained. It's hard to take documents off. it's very hard to integrate it with a modern machine. It's self-contained with EEPROM, so if you don't have EEPROMs in it, the data only lasts as long as the battery is powering the machine, because it never switches off. Even when you press double shift and put it into power on mode, and then you double shift to power off again, it's actually just in standby, which gives about 20 hours worth of use. The machine itself, I can see it would have very well been used quite widely, because it is ultimately very portable. It's better than some of the transportables. You can sit with it on your lap on a train or on a plane or in an airport or a coffee shop or wherever you need it to be, and then you can type a few documents. Okay, now it still has a use. It can still be used for that purpose. It can still be used to type your documents, your notes, and then keep them reasonably secure, because even if you lose this, or you left it on a train or an overhead luggage bin on a plane, or you walked out of a coffee shop and forgot it, no one's going to be able to really get anything off unless they're really serious about it. So your casual user won't be able to. So if you need a secure machine, something like this is probably your safest bet. And this is why I think that machines like this should be available today. You should have a machine with no access to the outside world. You should have a machine that doesn't give you the options to transfer data very easily. So any potential corporate or private data stays on the machine, and when the batteries go flat, you lose it. It's gone. So if somebody steals it and the batteries go flat in the meantime, well, anything that was on it is disappeared anyway. So as a everyday machine, a little clunky to use, a little fiddly. The menus aren't intuitive, and you have to learn how to use the machine. Okay, it's a quite short video about a ZX, or rather a Z88, simply because it's quite an obscure machine. It didn't sell that many. It didn't create a massive fan base, which I think is a crying shame, because a little bit more development on this machine and later an LCD screen, it would have made quite a decent modern-ish laptop. Okay, as a portable, it fulfills everything that it should have done. It's lightweight, it's small, it's easy to use, well, relatively easy to use, especially for the time. It's got quite a nice keyboard on it, even though it is rubber. Its downside is the screen. It's slightly too small to use for real text editing and document editing, which is a shame. It's a shame, but I guess it was no different to the TRS-80 models that were out there at the time, which had a very similar screen, and prior to that the New Brain with its similar screen, or actually smaller screen on there. So at the end of the day, it wasn't bad. It did what it needed to do, and it works. It would work. It would do your spreadsheets and your word processing and your notes and jot down your calendars. It would do all of that, and it would do it very, very well. So it was ahead of its time. Yes, it was. Is it worth using today? Yes, but only if you're a little bit of a masochist, simply because of that screen. Okay, and saving information is also a bit of a pain unless you have the EEPROM cartridges, or you can get somewhere before your batteries go flat. Transferring it to a modern machine is also a bit of a pain, but it is doable, and it's not a bad machine. I think it should have done better than it did. But the biggest problem is Sinclair, Clive. That was its biggest problem, mainly because his design quirks, people were now starting to come more and more into standardization, PCs, proper keyboards, and so on. Floppy drives at the time, you know, storage mediums that were more standard, he still went away from it. That's what inevitably kills off a machine. But I think it does have its uses in a modern world. If somebody could produce something very similar, closed architecture, no access to the outside world, governments, security services, or any company that needs to keep their machines secure and the data secure, it would be an ideal machine for them. Would I use it? Yeah, I do. I play around with it occasionally, and I think that if I was traveling somewhere where, you know, I wasn't too worried about losing anything, or I wasn't too worried about having a massive screen or having the thing broken, I would probably use it more. But as it is, it's an immaculate Z88, which there aren't many around, which is why I'm not going to take it apart and do the usual, there's a Z80 processor and so on, because it's not worth it. There are a few surviving good models out there, and hopefully this will stay a bit longer. Okay, thank you.